Many people are surprised when they hear that there is a race longer than a marathon. But honestly, humans have been going 100 miles for over 100 of years. In the early 1900s, there was pedestrian walking where they would be like 6 day races where people would walk around an eighth of a mile track and it would sell out crowds and stadiums because it was the most exciting thing going on. And of course, other sports came along like football and baseball, and then more people would want to go watch that because it would be more exciting to watch. But then in the 1970s, endurance horse racing became a big thing where cowboys and cowgirls would want to prove that they have tough horses that can make it over 100 miles. So they would have these 100-mile horse races where every 10 to 20 miles they would have a vet check. And then the veterinarian would be like, your horse is good, you can continue on. And they would cross the finish line and they would get a belt buckle because they were cowboys and cowgirls. So one year at the Western States 100, which was the Tevis Cup at the time, Gordy Ainsleigh's horse didn't pass the vet check. And then the next year, in 1977, he just decided, I'm just going to run it on foot because I don't need a horse. And he was just so frustrated with the horse, he ran it on foot and he actually finished under 24 hours. So when Gordy Ainsleigh crossed the finish line, it's like, well, it's all we have are these belt buckles, so here's your belt buckle. And from then on, people started doing these endurance horse races on foot. And there are still races today where horses and humans run the same race and they just run alongside each other and they watch out for each other, but they still share the same spirit and the same tradition of that race. Another thing that's beautiful about ultramarathon running is that each race has its own story, and its story is told through the history of the trail and the surrounding area. Like the Dinosaur Valley 100 in Texas, there's fossilized dinosaur footprints on the trail in the Dinosaur Valley. So the Dinosaur Valley 100 buckle will have a dinosaur head on it. And then you look at Pawhuska, Oklahoma, where the Osage Indians had their amazing story. So the Flower Moon trail race is a Dreamcatcher belt buckle with a wolf, a peace pipe, a flower, and beautiful backdrop that tells the story of the area and the trail of Pawhuska, Oklahoma. So these ultra runners are going to these different races not only to challenge themselves physically, but to learn more about the area and experience it all on foot. So this is why ultra running is beautiful, but it's not why ultra running has exploded. Because it's insane to think how ultra running has grown. In the year 2000, 14,000 people finished an ultra. In the year 2019, 130,000 people finished an ultra. Now, ultra running isn't on ESPN to where people are like, oh, I want to go do this one day. So why has it grown so much? There's three things that really led to the growth of ultramarathon running. You have the book, Born to Run, you have the documentary, the Barkley Marathons, and then you have YouTube channels and Facebook groups, which are just like your main media platforms. So the first thing, the book Born to Run came out in 2013 and it sold over, or sorry, 2009, and it sold over 3 million copies. So this book wasn't about a specific ultra marathon, like popular race. What it is this author went down to Mexico to study the Tarawera tribe because he was having so much pain with his running and he was getting all these different insults, but he noticed that these Tarawera Indians never had any pain or injury and they always ran barefoot. So what he found is that when we have thick soles, we have to push down really hard for our foot to feel the ground. And so that's creating a heavy impact. But the Tarawera were barefoot to where once their foot hit the ground, they immediately felt it and they can run light. And they would run light and gracefully and glide. So he was curious who would win in a race between our best American runners and the Tarawera Indians. So he gathered up the best American runners and convinced them to go down to race the Tarawera Indians in this remote desert with cartel all around in Mexico. It's a fascinating story. And what this book did is it started a minimalist footwear movement. And today we still have shoes that are zero drop flat minimalist shoes. And it also told people that ultra running exists because if we're getting our best ultra marathon athletes from America, that means that there's ultra races and people didn't know that. The next thing is a Barkley Marathon. And it's another thing to where it's not about ultra running, but it still includes ultra runners, so it kind of puts ultra running on the map. The Barkley Marathon is a race where you have to write an essay to the race director, just hoping that he chooses you to let you win based off your essay. And then if you're chosen into the race, you got to pay him $2, and he doesn't want to buy socks or clothes, so you just bring him a flannel shirt or a pair of socks, and that way he doesn't have to go clothes shopping for the next year, and that is your race entry. Now, usually on these ultramarathon trails, the courses are marked. and there's signs saying which way to go, to where you can get where you need to be. Well, the Barkley Marathon is not marked at all. It is actually extremely treacherous terrain in Frozen Head State Park in Tennessee. And this race director goes out and hides books. And if you collect all 4 books and make it back to him, you cover a 20-mile distance. So if a person has bib number 15 and they're out running and they find the first book, they rip out page 15, then they go to the second book, third book, make it back, and then they have to do that 5 times to make 100 miles. So there hasn't been a lot of finishers to the Barkley Marathon because it is insanely difficult, insanely treacherous, and then oftentimes people will spend hours just looking for one book that's hidden in a tree stump. So this documentary doesn't really tell the story of ultra running, but what it shows is that there are these superhuman ultra running athletes that come and struggle with this challenge of finding books, and it's so compelling, it's so interesting. And what the book and the documentary do is get people to research and try to find out more about ultra running because now they're interested. And that is where social media platforms come in, like YouTube and Facebook. So Facebook is going to be the community where you can go and find runners in your local community. You can go to beginning runners Facebook pages. And then race directors that run races create their own Facebook groups so they can promote their races and bring together the community, because these races really do have a community feel. Now, the great thing about YouTube channels is YouTube channels aren't hosted, and the channels aren't ran by the best runners. The YouTube channels are ran by everyday people, people that work 50 hours a week, people that have families, go out and test themselves in these ultra marathons. They take their GoPro, they share their experience, and it makes people feel like they can do it too. And that is the biggest thing for the growth of ultra marathon running, is seeing people achieve a goal, but make it look like the person watching it can maybe one day achieve it as well. And they share their experiences, they give tips and hints. And then another thing is they show the beauty of the trails, the beauty of the race. They show the beauty of the buckle, all the things. They show the spirit of the race through their videos. And that gets people excited. And that's what gets people to sign up for these races that are longer than a marathon and that make people test themselves. So the growth of ultra running has just been insane. And it has blown up without the help of ESPN. It has blown up from one book called Born to Run, one documentary called the Barkley Marathons, and the thousands of people that come together on Facebook and that share their stories on YouTube to inspire others to get out there and try something outside their comfort zone. Thank you.